Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Occult Perspectives. Your host, Tyler Smith, here. So, today, since I've got quite a bit of free time, I think I'm going to do one long video, but we're going to cover a wide range of topics. We're going to kind of be jumping around. I have lots of notes completed, finished, but it's just bits and pieces. So, we might cover some Archangel Michael. But first, I want to get into the angel Vehuiah. And most of the information that I've gotten here, well, pretty much everything I've written down so far, there's one or two more videos I'm going to get some information from. But Curtis Joseph, go check him out. He does a video on the angel Vehuiah, and it's really good. I like Curtis. He's real. That's what I like about him. You can tell when he talks that he knows what he's talking about, and he's not messing around. So I have a lot of respect for him. So go check Curtis Joseph out. I recommend that. Subscribe to his channel as well. He's an actual teacher. He takes on students. He's not just like a dispenser of information like I am. I can't remember what his program is that they do over there, but definitely go and check that out. So the angel Vehuiah is the first angel of the 72 angels of the zodiac. And you know what? I'm actually going to go ahead and grab Damien Eccles' Angels and Archangels book real quick. Read about the zodiacal angels a little bit. The 72 angels of the zodiac, you'll note that I don't give any visualization cues for the following sets of angels. That's simply because they are best envisioned as smaller, less potent, or vaguer versions of their corresponding archangels. For example, you should visualize all of the angels associated with Aries, Vehuiah, and the other ones. Looks like there are 6 of them. Vehuiah, Yeliel, Sitael, Elamiah, Mahasiah, and Lalahel. Not sure the pronunciation on these. And I'm pretty new to all of this information, especially regarding the 72 angels of the zodiac, as well as the 72 demons, and their correspondences as well. They're kind of different degrees or vibrations of the same force. One's higher density, one's lower density. Of course, the angels are the higher and the demons are the lower. But in ceremonial magic, when you're using these angels during like the Shem operation, which is, I'm pretty sure that's what Damien uses these 72 angels for, is you just, since Malchidiel is the archangel of Aries, you visualize all these other angels, these first 6 angels, which are the angels of Aries. You envision them as smaller versions of Malchidiel. Which is interesting because Vehuiah, in the actual lore of Vehuiah, we're going to get into that with Curtis Joseph, is a seraphim and not an elemental angel like here or even a zodiacal angel, but higher on this tree of life. So there's different accounts, there's different lore for these angels, so it's important to keep all of this in mind. Vehuiah is for assistance in developing wisdom, especially wisdom pertaining to the arts and sciences, for help engaging in completing any difficult task. So I'm going to go ahead and skip to the back of this book real quick. And so Damien, after he teaches you the lesser banishing ritual of the hexagram in this book, Angels and Archangels, he teaches you the celestial lotus. And he said he got it from his holy guardian angel, and it's actually... I created it after experimenting with a practice called the Supreme Invoking Ritual of the Pentagram and receiving some modifications from his holy guardian angel. And I feel that this version of the lesser invoking, or I'm sorry, the greater. Totally lost my spot. The supreme invoking ritual of the pentagram, which if you look that up in Donald Michael Craig's Modern Magic, it's way different from what Damien has in this. He has you, it's like the LBRP, but you draw 2 invoking pentagrams in each quarter instead of just one. The first one is white light. It's a spirit pentagram, and then you charge it with the divine name Ararita. Then after you draw another invoking pentagram, it's in blue light. So it's an elemental pentagram. Spirit, an elemental pentagram. So you charge it the first time with Ararita, and then the second time with the normal god name that you would invoke in that quarter that you do during the LBRP. I'm not going to get into the actual steps of the Celestial Lotus, but something that I find interesting is his placement of the Tree of Life Archangels when you're doing this. He says, between Uriel in the north and Raphael in the east, invoke Michael of Hod. So you've got Uriel, if you're looking from my way, Uriel would be here in the north, Raphael in the east. So it's to your upper left-hand side, or in this left-hand corner, which doesn't make sense because if you imagine the Tree of Life on your body, it's actually correlated with Hod would be on your right hip. So instead of imagining the Tree of Life archangels around me, because he does have them in strange placements, even if you look at the Tree of Life, between Raphael in the east and Michael in the south, invoke Gabriel of Yesod. So he has Yesod in front of you and to your right, which normally Yesod is associated with the generative system. So you would see it lower on your body, or like maybe visualize behind you. So this ring that he has going on, I'm not saying it's wrong, or there is no really right or wrong in these modifications that we make, but I tend to see, after I do like an LBRP in a middle pillar, then I will see like the different Tree of Life archangels on my body. Metatron on the left hemisphere, Raziel, the right hemisphere, Zophkael, working your way down on the body. And then you can imagine the zodiacal angels around you along with the elemental angels, like the normal Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, and Uriel. I find that to be helpful, but I haven't really done the Celestial Lotus yet. Getting back to the angel Vehuiah, I'm going to read a little bit on the Shem operation that Damien Eccles has in here, because this is when you would actually call upon these 72. The Shem operation, and remember that this is advanced stuff, so this is way, after you've been doing like LBRP, Lesser Invoking Ritual of the Pentagram, Middle Pillar, the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Hexagram, and the Rose Cross, and there's probably even more you should work on, the whole Celestial Lotus, and then the Shem operation is one of the last ones that you do. There's a Tibetan spiritual tradition called Dzogchen, the Great Perfection, that's closely identified with Buddhism and the native Bon religion of the Himalayas, but that some experts believe predates both traditions by hundreds, if not thousands of years. The advanced practices in Dzogchen result in what's known as the rainbow body, in which the adept transmutes their physical form into a non-material body of light upon death, and can direct this rainbow body to wherever they wish to travel throughout the cosmos and across the varying levels of reality. Perhaps this is what happened when, in Star Wars, when Ben Kenobi dies. Remember when Darth Vader goes to, cut him with his lightsaber, his body just disappears into thin air. Did he ascend in his body of light? Same with Yoda. Yoda's body just disappears like that. There are even documented instances of masters achieving the rainbow body and leaving nothing behind but dust, teeth, or a shrunken version of their former physical body on this side of the divide. Interesting. I can't speak on these advanced tantric practices, but I believe that the advanced ceremonial practices in magic result in something like the rainbow body. In fact, I think that the highest practices of most mystical traditions of the world lead to something quite similar. Whether it's called the rainbow body, the diamond body in Taoism, or the solar body, traditional alchemy, or the body of light, which is the preferred term for ceremonial magicians. Whatever name it goes by, the process of achieving it seems to require some type of purification of the energy system, followed by an absorption of higher forms of divine energy through invocation. This is the quickest path to enlightenment, not over the course of millions of lifetimes, but one. And enlightenment is just the beginning. As the Dzogchen masters teach, a being who has completed this many-name process can manifest in any realm, material or spiritual, at will, and intentionally do so in whatever manner it takes to help others cross the abyss. The practice leading to this profound result are usually a closely guarded secret, mostly due to the fact that it won't work, or in some instances might result in insanity or death for practitioners who haven't completed the preliminaries. In the Western tradition of high magic, this means all of the practices leading up to the LBRP as well as relevant modifications to it, and all other practices you've encountered in this book up to this point. He says to assimilate them deeply into your psyche. At this point, you will be prepared to perform the Shem operation. It's called that among magicians simply because it's a lot easier than saying the invocation of the 72 angels of the Shem Ha-Mepharash. In ceremonial magic and Kabbalah, Shem Ha-Mepharash is said to be one of the hidden names of the divine, a name that contains and conveys tremendous power. It's also called the explicit name. Let's see if there's anything. The Shem operation is designed to flood your psyche with a deluge of divine energy, and there's not another practice that empowers you to absorb as much of this energy into your aura for spiritual sustenance. There's really no way to describe it. When it comes to making happen things on the material plane, the Shem operation is like harnessing thermonuclear power to manifest your personal desires. It is not to be taken lightly. And then he goes on to say how often you would do it. The Shem operation is essentially a highly advanced version of the lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram. The 72 angels involved in this ritual correspond with some of the oldest celestial charts of ancient Mesopotamia. You can either invoke all of the different 72 angels or choose to focus on one particular angel who corresponds with the practical magic you wish to perform. So you begin this operation by performing the LBRP, and if time permits, you do the lesser banishing ritual of the hexagram as well. Just the LBRP is okay, but doing both will clear the way for all of the energies you're about to invoke. And then I'm not going to go ahead and read the next 6 steps, but on step 7, this is when it says next you'll invoke the 72 angels of the zodiac, or just one angel 72 times. There are several ways you can do this. One is to simply use the clock visualization as before, only this time the clock has 72 numbers on it. You should also imagine a pie or pie chart with 72 sections. Alright. So I think that's all I'm going to read out of that book. Let me go ahead and read you the notes on Vehuiah. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Some angels and demons have dual offices within the greater scheme of things as a macrocosmic potential ruler within the cosmos. So most of these are Curtis's words. I just kind of condensed them a little bit. Also have relevance in regard to sorcery and low magic through evocation. For very practical purposes even. They carry vast influence in this world. So he's talking about the different angels and demons. So much more than what is revealed exoterically on the page of the medieval grimoires. So these entities, they cause influence in our everyday life. Curtis refers to the tree of life, or the Kalpathic tree, the angelic and demonic rulers of the one tree, as this one tree of draconian power. It's not really 2 trees, it's one tree. Zohar says that Metatron rules over the tree of life of good and evil. In traditional Kabbalah, he rules over Kether, though. We usually see that correspondence with, like, in Damien's books. That's usually the 10 archangels of the Sephiroth. Metatron presides over Kether. But it says he also refers, or the Zohar says he rules over the tree of life of good and evil. Vehuiah represents the descent of Shakti. So many people are obsessed with the rising of the Kundalini, and you hear this all the time. And you got to be careful with some of these practices when you're raising the energy and stuff. If you're not able to control it properly, or if you're just messing around, and you're getting caught up you're not really using these practices for a real purpose, you're just trying to, like, have fun with them, be warned, you can cause serious harm. But everyone's obsessed with the rising of the Kundalini energy, through the crown chakra, which when you first learn to do that, it's very invigorating. But many people are obsessed with the rising of the Kundalini, but the same force descends upon us through the crown too. So it's important to always pull the energy back down as well. Illumination and enlightenment depends on both. Vehuiah is a general embodiment of divine knowledge and wisdom. So this descending of the energy allows us to heal ourselves through our shadow work and gives us the boldness and courage we need to make it to the finish line above all else, to carry out tasks that we have been assigned within this world with boldness and courage. Assertiveness, coming from a divine place that's not just based in ego. She actually embodies the power of sin in order to become more holy. And when we say holy, we mean whole, light and dark, understanding the whole aspect of ourselves. Understand sin, how to apply it, how to be able to enjoy dark or sinful pleasures in the correct context, and it does not threaten our holiness. I'd say I'd have to agree with that. It's something that I've kind of, like, talked about for a long time, is if people can channel their energy in a way that's, there's different pleasures of the flesh that you can enjoy, but don't do it in a way that's harming anyone. Do what thou will shall be the whole of the law. Don't hold anyone back from their true will, and go forth to, claim your true will. Never do anything without anyone's consent. That's really the basic rules of reality. Don't steal from others, and don't, basically get people's permission before you do anything. Respect other people. We can have fun and also respect each other. So this doesn't threaten our holiness, this working with our dark side. It represents wholeness, who we are. It helps us to remain centered in self without being self-centered, Curtis said. I liked that. Vehuiah can help us get through illnesses of the body, mind, and spirit, can work synergistically with the powers of Raphael. And I'm assuming, even though Damien says to use this angel during, like, the Shem operation, when you're calling upon these 72 zodiacal angels, I wouldn't see why you couldn't use Vehuiah and, like, an LBRP in all directions if you wanted to, instead of the other angels. See, now we're getting into some other things that I've never, hadn't thought of that before. So if anybody wants to try that sometime, let me know how it goes. Let us all know. Comment Vehuiah. I like what I'm learning about this angel. It's really cool. And I think after we talk about this angel Vehuiah, we're going to go ahead and probably get into Bael a little bit, because that's the corresponding demon for this angel. We want to get both sides of the coin, so to speak. So yeah, she helps you get through illnesses of the body, mind, and spirit, can work synergistically with the powers of Raphael. All of these entities, whether Kalpathic rulers or not, they have their place upon the tree, and learning about them leads to understanding where and how these beings can influence our lives in regards to more practical matters. She belongs to the order of the Seraphim, so this angel's influence is coming from the higher echelon on the tree of life in regard to the hierarchy. Lucifer was a seraphim himself. Her color, Vehuiah, is gold. The angels and demons are connected. It's good to learn the different degrees of existence, about different archetypal forces, which ultimately represent ourselves as well, different aspects of ourselves. She allows us to develop the true self while at the same time coming to the knowledge that our true self is divine. This angelic force gives us the courage and boldness to finish the race, useful in context to all arts and sciences. Same with both angels and demons, which of course we've seen that before. I've done a couple of videos before on some of the Vehuiah stuff. Freemasonry promotes the study of the 7 liberal arts and sciences as well, like mainly in the fellowcraft degree, so I thought that was kind of a cool thing to throw in there. The angels come from a set of 3 lines in the book of Exodus in Hebrew, each line containing 72 letters, and then combining them properly and adding L or IA as a suffix. Both of these mean of God, and the 3-letter Hebrew names are the portion of them that represent the angel's individual characteristics. So that was some of the notes I'd started to take after Curtis's video. So that pretty much covers all my notes on Angel Vehuiah. I'd have to go ahead and listen to this other YouTube video before I continue any more notes on her. So I'm going to go ahead and this music that you're hearing in the background, by the way, this is all Jeremy Soule music. This comes from the Elder Scrolls games. I love his music. He's a great composer. Some of these songs aren't as good as the other ones, though, I think. He's got some really nice, calm, just beautiful music in some of these mixes. Go ahead and play a different one. Seems I'd already been listening to that one, too. Oh no, it got me with an ad. Of course it would. Let's just mute that. I wanted to start it over. I just did this.
When we first arrived,
These videos are ridiculous. I'll tell you what. There we go. I think I'm going to pull up a different... Oh, there we go. That's fine. Okay, so I did a video before, and we were reading from some of the goetic stuff from Modern Magic on how to... some of the beginnings of demon invocation, how that works, invocation and evocation, the differences between the two. And there's actually... pretty much where we had left off before was the part right after is the construction of this magical mirror right here. And we're not going to get into that in this video. But he gives instructions on here. You take plywood, cut out an equiangular triangle. That means, as in the diagram below, the length of each side is equal and each angle of the triangle is exactly 60 degrees. You paint in the Greek names of God along the border of the wood. Using flat, not glossy red paint, write in the archangelic name Mikael to seal and protect this work. Use a flat, sometimes called satin or matte, clear finish such as a varanth. So the name of Michael goes all the way around it to seal and protect this work. Interesting. See, and I've read some of this stuff before, but it's been so long. And this is way, you know, I don't get into any of this, the goetic stuff. So for me, it's purely scholarly. I'm super interested in it. I'm super interested in learning. Okay, so since Bael happens to be the first example in here, though, and here's the seal, I'm going to go ahead and read. Preparing for the evocation. You get 2 candle holders, and you have a seer with you. You need the seal of the entity you wish to invoke. Bael is said to have the power to make a thee to go invisible. This is the demon that corresponds with Vehuiah. He appeareth in diverse shapes, sometimes like a cat, sometimes like a toad, and sometimes like a man, and sometimes all these forms at once. He speaketh hoarsely. Furthermore, we are told that the seal must be worn like a necklace by the seer, or else he, Bael, will not do thee homage. The seal of Bael is best shown on the next page, which I just showed you. It may be drawn on paper as per the lesson on talismans. A string needs to be attached so that it goes around the seer's neck. You set up the temple, the triangle of the art outside the circle in the east. The chair may be placed in the east. I'm just kind of skimming over a lot of this stuff. The seer should be in the east of the circle facing east. There should be incense near the seer so that he or she will inhale much of the smoke. And this whole like inhalation of smoke and stuff, we talked about this in some of the Liber 420 stuff, like Sephiroth and stuff like that. How there's a lot of ingestion of certain substances and such, and this allowed for different states of consciousness so that they could perform or do these operations essentially. Then you perform the opening by Watchtower, which is actually a pretty long ritual. That's another one that's kind of like earlier on in this book, and it seems like a pretty intricate one. And yeah, the lesser invoking ritual, the greater invoking ritual of the pentagram, or I guess it would be called the supreme invoking ritual of the pentagram, where's it at, is much more complicated than this, it seems like, because you work with like the Enochian language and stuff. Yeah, the supreme invoking ritual of the pentagram. Damien's version seems to be a lot like simplified, pretty simplified, and maybe a little more concise. But it seems like there's a lot of power to this one because you actually start drawing the zodiacal symbols. You draw the Aquarius symbol, the Leo symbol, and Taurus. It also has you draw the eagle associated with water. Anyway, getting off track a little bit. After the opening of the Watchtower, the seer should pay no attention to that ritual. It is the seer's task to stare at and contemplate the seal. The chosen method to alter the consciousness of the seer should already have begun, with the exception of self-hypnosis, which should wait until after the opening. Tell the seer to let go of the seal and stare into the magic mirror. I skipped forward a little bit more, so I highly recommend Modern Magic. You can probably find it online for free, like a PDF or something. Speak to the seer in a smooth, comforting voice. Stare deeply into the mirror. Do not look at it, but into it. Move the candle so that you can see yourself, but so that you do not directly see the reflection of the candle's flames. Stare deeper. Now it is time to do the first conjuration. When a spirit's name is mentioned and is in parentheses, you should use the name of the spirit you see. You should use the name of the spirit you are actually evoking. In this example, you will see Bael. But if you were evoking Bodis, you would vibrate Bodis instead of Bael. All capitalized names, words of power should be vibrated. So here he's got the ritual for the evocation of the spirit. So you've got that, and then you have the second conjuration if the demon does not come. It's like this real long, we talked about this before in the other videos, how there are these real long spiels when you're calling these demons forth. By the power of God, come and do my will. And then in the lesser and greater keys of Solomon, when the demons don't come, they have you like really mess with them, like I'm gonna curse you, blah 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 blah, if you don't come right away. Now here's what, if the demon doesn't come right away, this is what Donald Michael Craig says. You may repeat this as often as you wish. Pause after the conjuration and ask the seer if he or she sees anything in the mirror. And he finds that after 3 or 4 times his interest starts to wane. Then you should move on to the next conjuration. So there's the second long conjuration. Again, ask the seer if they see anything. If the answer is yes, proceed to the questionings. Although there are more conjurations in the Goetia, it has been in my experience that the first 2 will more than suffice. If after reciting them 3 times there is no result, which sometimes 3 seems to be the magic number, it is fair to conclude that you are not going to have any luck and that the seer is not capable of learning anything from the spirit at this time. So if you are successful, there's the part where you actually do the questionings, and then there's a part where you give like the license to depart. So let's go ahead and read. The first question to ask is directed toward the seer. Simply ask, what do you see in the mirror? If nothing, repeat one of the evoking conjurations. If the seer describes a scene, write down what is reported with the paper and writing implement. If the seer describes an entity, see if it matches the description in the grimoire you were using. In the case of Bael, he normally appears as a cat, toad, man, or all 3 at once. These may be metaphorical descriptions. So they could be large too. If the entity appears in a shape so unusual or weird as will sometimes happen, the seer is frightened or upset, say loudly and in a firm voice, I do evocate, conjure, and command thee, O spirit, to show thyself in a fair and comely shape without any deformity or tortuosity. By the name and powers of all, it says Eheye, Ashar, Eheye, all these sacred god names. If the figure does not change appearance, then you can give the license to depart. If the spirit is of a pleasant appearance or takes on such an appearance at your command, move on to ask the spirit, what is thy name? Seer should respond by saying, I feel his name is blank, or he says his name is blank, followed by the spirit's name. You will find that the entities we deal with do not answer with outright lies. However, they may not always give a full answer, or one that is unintelligible to you. If this happens, by the power of vibrate and spell out the letters with your LBRP dagger in the air and visualize the letters in bright blue. Remember, they should go from right to left. Wow, this is interesting. Yod He Vau He, I command you to tell us your true name without hesitation or equivocation. At this time, you should get the correct reply. If the spirit gives its name as being the one you are seeking to contact, continue to the welcome below. If not, give the license to depart and thoroughly banish the area. The welcome into the spirit. Welcome, O most noble spirit. In this case, it would be Bael. I say, thou art welcome unto me, because I have called thee through God, whom has created heaven and earth, and all that is in them contained, and because also thou hast obeyed the will of God, and mine own will, by appearing here now. By that same power by which I have called thee forth, I bind thee for a time, that thou may remain affably and visibly before this circle, and within this triangle, so long as I shall have occasion for thy presence, and not to depart without my license until thou hast duly and faithfully performed my will without any falsity. The purpose of the ritual, now standing behind the seer, point the dagger used in the LBRP directly at the triangle outside the circle and say, by the power of God have I called thee, give unto me a true answer. Now state what it is you desire of the entity you have summoned. In the case of this working with Bael, you would ask, what are the secrets of invisibility? Have the seer tell you anything and everything the spirit says, points toward, or does, and copy what the seer says on the paper you have brought for that purpose. Once this part is complete, give out loud. This gives you this license to depart. Additional information: it is not necessary to have a seer. You can act as the seer yourself. However, it is much easier to have one so that you can perform the ritual while the other concentrates on the magic mirror. So yeah, let me go ahead and grab, let me see if there's any additional notes I have on Bael too. I'm going ahead and grabbing, this is, I've shown it before, the 3 magical books of Solomon in one. You've got the Testament of Solomon and Greater and Lesser Keys in one book. And I had a really weird experience the first time I read this book. I had read it almost all the way through. I don't know that I read every single page, but I've read pretty much all of this book. And I don't know if it was the timing at the time, but I got really sick. So there's something sometimes about the energies of these books and grimoires that's it's, you know, not to be taken lightly, even if you're reading it sometimes, I think. At that time I had gotten COVID really bad, and it was the headache variant. I wasn't sure what it was, but then everybody had told me that there was COVID going around and it was a bad headache. And it was the worst headache of my life. I could not even control my thoughts. It was that bad. And I was dealing with a lot of, quote, inner demons at the time anyway, a lot of things that I was replaying, like these bad visions over and over again in my mind. I couldn't move past certain things. It was just like all these negative things were just destroying me inside. So it was the worst, infuriating, like, just pain inside of my head. Like, I could find no relief. It was really just that was an awful time. Yeah, I haven't been that sick since then. That was pretty wild. Oh yeah, we're gonna cover Bael real quick in this book. So this is the Lesser Key of Solomon, which is the one he mentions him in real quick, I think. The Key of Solomon's talking about some different, it's like making pentacles, the plates, okay. Yeah, Bael. It's the first of the 72. The first principal spirit is a king ruling in the east called Bael. It's interesting, it's the east too, take that into consideration. We know all the metaphorical implications of the east. That's where the sun rises, and even in most esoteric traditions, like their temples are pointed towards the east. There's something to that, I think. Raphael is also associated with the east, the archangel of air. He maketh thee to go invisible. He ruleth over 66 legions of infernal spirits. He appeareth in diverse shapes, sometimes like a cat, sometimes like a toad, and sometimes like a man. And sometimes all these forms at once. He speaketh hoarsely. This is his character, which is used to be worn as a lament before him who calleth him forth, or else he will not do thee homage. And there's that seal again. It's kind of an interesting looking one. And it almost looks like a little bug or something. I think what I'm going to do, though, is I think Legends of Myth and Mythology Explained or Legends of History, one of those two channels, covers Bael. So I'll probably take some notes at some point, and we'll do like an actual, maybe whole video on that. I also have more Vehuiah notes to take too, so maybe I'll combine that into one video and do that. Okay, so that is it for Bael in this video. I think I might have time. I definitely think I have time. It just depends on how long I want to go. We're about 40 minutes right now, so this is going to be a long video. But there's lots of good information in this video. I think we're covering lots of different things, which is cool. It's better than just trying to do like one video on Archangel Michael or something like that. I want to keep it interesting for you all. So I started taking notes on, before we get to Archangel Michael though, because I'll probably do a little bit of Archangel Michael in this video, and then there will be like one more video after this on Michael, depending on how many notes that we do get into. But I started reading Kabbalah Klapothengoetic Magic again, which is a really good, really great read. And you can actually find a free version of it because every copy is like super expensive online. Like they're all at least $100 usually. Some of them are really expensive. It is a great book, and there's a lot of good information in it, but a lot of it's reviewed too. So I hate to buy like a book like that and only use like a third of the information that's in it. So what I'm going to try to do is include most of that relevant information in some of my videos. And I've already covered some of the information in the Lucifer videos that I've done, the Satan and Lucifer videos. So check those out. So some of this is going to be review, most definitely. Go ahead and find the notes that I started on that. Been on an energy drink kick lately. Well, I'm trying to find. I wonder if I accidentally did it under her name. I did. Okay. I had to sign into her stuff to get to it. So in Kabbalah Klapothengoetic Magic, it's written by Thomas Carlson, I think is his name. He says that scholarly or higher magic has far greater ambitions than folkish magic. Now, these are his words, not mine. I don't really care what tradition you follow. Like I said before, I want to get into Wicca and stuff on this channel too. Do a couple videos on some of their rituals because I think it's all interesting. Not saying one's superior to the other. It's more about what you want to accomplish with your magic. Occultists have at all times sought treasures, riches, kingdoms, wisdom, and even the possibility of becoming a god through higher magic. The rituals of the old scholarly books of the black arts are, unlike the folkish tradition, very advanced and often contain conjurations of demons. Mathers, Crowley, Dion, Fortune, etc. helped form a new view on magic. The mental and meditative aspects were focused upon. Attempts were made to contact higher powers and other worlds using meditation, trance, rituals, and other techniques. Okay, I'm going to change the music. I think I'm just going to put on some Morrowind music, though. It's playing a lot of Skyrim stuff, which I like the Skyrim music, but a lot of it sounds the same. I guess same with Morrowind. It's a lot of any of Jeremy Soul's stuff really is pretty. A lot of it sounds similar, but it's really pretty. Beautiful music. Okay. So, ceremonial magic essentially is, you're aided by different techniques, primarily in the form of visualizations in combination with rituals. The present-day magician attempts to enter into other astral, quote, astral worlds and contact higher beings, spirits, and demons. The search for the divine secrets, explore the unknown, finding truth and breaking limits. This is all like, leaning towards more, quote, left-hand path, because it's all the same path. The Key of Solomon was actually banned at one point, and a group even falsely attempted to use it to assassinate Pope Urban VIII. The Golden Dawn, OTO, and Freemasons are briefly mentioned in the book. Like, I think this is the introduction. This particular book focuses on some of the darker aspects of the divine, of course, particularly because it gets into like the Clepothic tree, or I guess I should say Clepothic segment of the tree if it's all one great tree, Draconian tree of power. So the first page in the introduction basically summarizes the Kabbalah, which we've talked about the Kabbalah so much on here. Different views about what, quote, God is, different aspects of the divine, etc., that God and Satan, heaven and hell are just different aspects of the divine, different densities or frequencies of reality. Dark and evil forces in myth are not, read last two paragraphs on page 15. So I'm going to go ahead and find page 15. So they talk about this thing called gray evil. This gray evil surrounding us in our world is mainly committed by frustrated and confused individuals, power-mad politicians, or criminals unable to control petty desires. This evil has in reality nothing whatsoever to do with the metaphysical evil that we encounter in religious documents. Mankind is, in fact, in possession of a unique predilection of brutality and excessive violence, which distinguishes them from other animals. We seem to be the sole creators of death camps, mass rape, meat factories, and extensive killing for the purpose of amusement. The great evil is human, all too human, while metaphysical evil is black as night and completely inhuman. The gray evil characteristic of humanity is quite often justified with goodness. How often do we not encounter terrible cruelty in the name of goodness? Hundreds of thousands of individuals. Oh, totally lost my spot because I decided to make the letters a little bit bigger. There we go. Hundreds of thousands of individuals were executed during the witch burnings when the Christian clerics sought to fight Satan and the powers of evil. The Bible encourages genocide and a number of other cruel acts, which causes the critical reader to ponder who is in fact good and who is really evil. As early as the 3rd century, the old Gnostics had already found it difficult getting the picture together and reached the conclusion that God is indeed evil and not good. And I'm assuming here they're talking about the demiurge, the one who created the physical world, not the one who created, the creator of all existence. That is something different from a demiurgic or, the leader of the archons. Gnostic groups like the Canaanites, I think, or Cainites and Ophidians instead worship the enemies of God, such as Cain, the serpent in the Garden of Eden, and the fallen angels. The path of Cain, that's something I've recently learned, started hearing a little bit about. The forces of evil appearing in the myths are revolting, adversarial, overthrowing, and pioneering. Metaphysical evil is hard and shimmering like a black diamond, and as distant in its annihilating force as the black holes of the universe. It is both sharp as a razor and smooth as silk. What is most terrifying about the dark forces is their age and remoteness, and the fact that they seem to brood on knowledge that is too much for mankind to behold. The writer H.P. Lovecraft catches the atmosphere with the words that initiate the reader into one of his Gothic stories. The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. Or, knowledge truly is a double-edged sword, it goes on to say. Serpent in the Garden of Eden, the fallen angels. It says to just go ahead and read all of page 16. So I'll go ahead and read the rest of page 16. Knowledge is truly a double-edged sword that constantly lures man to travel further, but which can also destroy him if he journeys too far. A recurrent theme in myths and religious documents is the fact that the evil forces are in possession of deep wisdom that man and even the gods are prepared to do anything to get hold of. From the apocryphal book of Enoch, we learn that the greatest crime of the fallen angels is that they teach man those things that take place in heaven. And in Genesis, it is the cunning serpent who offers man the fruits of knowledge, which promise to turn him into a god. Prometheus, one of the titans in the Greek myth, steals the fire from the gods and gives it to mankind, and is therefore punished by the high god Zeus. In Nordic mythology, it is the powers of chaos, the primordial giants, that are masters of the great wisdom. The Aesir are constantly seeking to take advantage of the abilities of the giants or to take part of their wisdom, although it takes both treachery and violence from the gods to accomplish this task. So we're on page 17. And I've also shown a picture of this before, but this is the tree of life before the fall. So Yesod is essentially where Malkut normally is. And this is like the higher sun, Da, and this is the lower sun, Taparith, and then Taparith moves up once this original tree is broken, and it kind of changes its structure and format. I've talked about that a little bit before in previous videos. So we're at 50 minutes now. I think I might possibly take a short break and then go ahead and do Archangel Michael separately. Yeah, I think this is a good stopping point for this. I think I might go ahead and read just the first page from my book that I'm working on. It's called Freemasonry and Ceremonial Magic. A lot of people, they know that Freemasonry takes influences from magic and Hermeticism and all that, but they don't really understand what's the same and what's different, and that's really what I want to clarify that in my book that I'm writing, because I don't think that anyone's written a book quite like it that's kind of combining the two worlds to the fullest extent. So this is going to be a thorough work on the difference between the two. You know, what is the difference between Golden Dawn and the, it was formed by Freemasons, the Golden Dawn was, but what their rituals, the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, that it's high ceremonial magic versus, more, Masonry's like more ceremonial and pageantry versions of, I guess, like high magic is more, you're actually like invoking entities and stuff. The ceremonies of Freemasonry are not really the same thing, but they take influences from magic. So the two worlds are kind of combined. I'm going to go ahead and read my first page from Freemasonry and Ceremonial High Magic. I haven't edited this beginning in a while, so if the wording's not exactly right, I'm not a professional when it comes to writing, but I think I usually get the point across pretty well. So if this book is something you would like to hear more of or more about, I'd like to do like a Patreon at some point. And this is kind of like my magnum opus. So most other information, like my YouTube channel, I basically want to be like for free and stuff. I want everyone to be able to get free information. But some of my works, I would like to get some kind of monetary compensation for it. Not because I really am wanting to like make a whole bunch of money or be rich, but just so that I can kind of start to, make a shift where I'm making income from doing what I love to do and what I love to talk about and what I love to write about. I think that's something that will change my life for the better. Start to get in the vibration of your true will. But let me go ahead and share the beginning of this Freemasonry and Ceremonial High Magic by Tyler J. Smith. Introduction. First and foremost, the primary purpose of this book is to bridge the gap between Freemasonry and Ceremonial High Magic. What similarities and differences exist between the two? What are some of the more ancient influences of each, and how do these teachings come across in the modern world? All of these questions and more will be answered. This book is not an end in and of itself. This work is to give you my perspectives from the experiences I've had thus far, and to help you on your own personal journey. I highly recommend researching a multitude of other sources on these subjects. Don't just take my word for it. The aim of most mystics and adepts is unity with the divine. They recognize that all genuine traditions tend to tell a similar story, not necessarily the dogma of religions, but the true teachings behind the formation of these beliefs. In the ancient mystery schools, and modern versions of these schools, certain values and moral lessons are taught and advocated so that the aspirant, whether it be a solitary practitioner or the member of a particular group, can increase his or her ability to mold and positively interact with the world around them. One who is on a genuine spiritual path becomes familiar with the laws of nature and works on the process of aligning their wills with the ultimate source. This creates a sort of symbiotic relationship which mirrors a positive outcome in the, quote, outside world, as within, so without. Circumstances will begin to synchronistically put you in the right place at the right time when one works with this universal flow, moving you towards the path that is correct for your individual or true will. This particular work will focus mostly on Freemasonry and ceremonial high magic. I will refer to other teachings when it's appropriate to reference them, since I will constantly be pulling from other sources, much like I do on this YouTube channel. I will state the works in the back of this book so that you can go and check them out for yourself. Many of the symbols used in Freemasonry and high magic are taken from more ancient traditions and cultures, such as ancient Sumer and ancient Egypt, as well as from Eastern philosophies. They are then adapted for the Western world in order to present them in a way that makes a little more sense to our psyches. Those raised in a Western-style culture will have a different symbol set, which archetypally tends to work better for them, angelic pantheons rather than the Hindu or Buddhist-based pantheons. At the end of the day, though, use whichever symbol set works best for you. This book will focus more on Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, and the angelic hierarchy. So that is the first page of my introduction in this book. So I have like an introduction, which kind of tells you my story. My story about being a musician, how I joined the Freemasonic Lodge. And so that part of the book's pretty long. And then I get into a glossary and key terms, just words like esoteric, occult, magic, hermeticism, metaphysical, all these different things. There's like 20 different words to help you read the rest of this book. Chapter 3 is on the Hermetic principles, so I get into all 7 principles plus the 8th hidden principle. I go through the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. After that, I start with the Empyrean Heaven, the 3 layers above Kether, and then I get into each of the Sephiroth, talk about the Sephiroth, and then Chapter 5 is I get into the entered apprentice degree of Freemasonry. So it's getting really exciting, like mixing all these concepts together and kind of bouncing them off each other to see what the similarities and the differences are. Okay, so I don't know that there's anything that I really want to, that I have left to cover for this video. I might go ahead and do a video here in a little bit. If I do another video, I probably won't end up uploading these videos until a little bit later. It's about 6:40 here in Ohio right now. Are there any more books I want to pull out? I wonder. I've got books all around this house. I'm working on the book I just read from, and it's proving to be quite the project. I have to pull little bits of information from lots of different sources. So it's been fun. It's been a lot of work, but it'll be worth it. So this is the lifeblood. This is what gives me, the drive to go on, is to learn some of this information and to spread it on to others in a way that's demystifying the occult. We're kind of condensing things. We're making them able to teach them in a somewhat linear fashion so that people can understand things. It's not just all this random information from all over the place. We can bring it into one spot, synthesize it, and then spread it back out to the rest of the world. Continue to do the great work. So this video is almost an hour long. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, and I hope all of you are taking care. I hope you are all prospering and have abundance, a flow of abundance in your life, and you are able to follow your true will and your true passion in life. And let's make this realm a place that's enjoyable. We are the chosen ones, especially people who follow this channel. I know that you've been called to this channel for a special purpose. This is the 100th video for this channel too, I believe, if I end up posting this one first, for the Archangel Michael video. And we're almost at 500 subscribers, so this is getting exciting. So I'll probably do a little celebratory video for 500 subscribers. That'll be really cool. I think we're at about 18,000 views as a channel, so that's awesome. Continue to please help support the channel, share this stuff with like-minded people, have them subscribe, ring the notification bell for new videos, and peace and love, everyone. Till next time, take care.